Much has been written about Empress Elisabeth of Austria. Her cult of beauty was legendary. Movies, operas and musicals have been dedicated to Emperor Franz Joseph's wife. But what became of Sisi's siblings? Let's find out in today's video. Sisi's older brother Ludwig in Bavaria. Ludwig Wilhelm in Bavaria, Sisi's eldest brother, was born on June 21, 1831. He was nicknamed Louis in the family. At the age of 10, Ludwig was given First Lieutenant Karl Graf von Spreti as his tutor and military companion. Spreti and Ludwig's father, Maximilian, had been study companions in their youth. Spreti is said to have been very strict and harsh with his protégé. Ludwig's mother, Ludovica, distrusted Spreti's methods of education and did not want her son to be alone with him for too long. The family later attributed Ludwig's shy nature in part to Spreti's harsh upbringing. After Spreti was relieved of his duties, Ludovica sent her eldest son to the Saxon court for further education. In 1859, he renounced his birthright, so he was able to marry the bourgeois actress Henriette Mendel. He went through a military career in the Bavarian army, rising to the rank of General of the Cavalry by July 1883. Ludwig died on November 6, 1920, after suffering cardiac paralysis and was buried in the Munich East Cemetery. Sisi's second brother, Wilhelm in Bavaria. Wilhelm Karl in Bavaria was born on December 24, 1832. Sadly, the child died less than 2 months later on February 13, 1833. His death deeply saddened his parents and caused his mother to suffer from a depression. Sisi's eldest sister, Helene in Bavaria. A separate biography of Helene has been released on my channel earlier this month. I will link the biography at the end of this video for those interested in the details of Helene's life. Sisi's third brother, Karl Theodor in Bavaria. Karl Theodor in Bavaria was born on August 9, 1839. At the age of 14, he joined the Bavarian army and eventually became a general of the cavalry. He participated in the Franco-Prussian War under command of the Duke of Saxony. After leaving active service, Karl decided to study at the Ludwig Maximilian University. He started out studying philosophy, law and economics and ended up obtaining a doctorate in medicine. For 15 years, he practiced alternately in Munich, in the Tegernsee District Hospital and in Merano. In 1875, Karl was made an honorary member of the Bavarian Academy of Sciences. In 1895, Karl founded the private Herzog Karl Theodor Eye Clinic in Munich. In the first 14 years of the clinic's existence, he performed more than 5,000 cataract operations and advised and treated other eye patients. When his father died in 1888, Karl became head of the House of Dukes in Bavaria, as his elder brother Ludwig Wilhelm had renounced his birthright to marry an actress. Karl died on November 30, 1909 and was buried in the family vault at Tegernsee. His widow transferred the eye clinic to a foundation in 1917 and Karl's previous assistant, Heinrich Zenker, became the medical director. His son Ludwig Wilhelm in Bavaria succeeded him as head of the House of Dukes in Bavaria. Sisi's second sister, Marie in Bavaria. Marie Sophie Amalia in Bavaria was born on October 4, 1841. On February 3, 1859, Marie married the later Francis II of the Two Sicilies. Not much later that same year, her father-in-law, King Ferdinand II of the Two Sicilies, died. From then on, Marie was Queen of the Two Sicilies. The marriage between Francis and Marie was far from perfect. Francis claimed to be impotent and suffered from a religious fanaticism bordering on religious madness. Soon, her husband Francis II was forced to abdicate as king of the Two Sicilies due to the Italian unification. Marie's unyielding efforts to preserve her husband's throne earned her the nickname Heroine of Gaeta. Marie and Francis went into exile and lived partly in Northamptonshire, England. In the early 1860s, Marie became pregnant. Since her husband was not the father of the child, due to his impotence, Marie fled to Possenhofen, where she gave birth to a baby daughter. Immediately after giving birth, the child was handed over to the care of her lover's family, after which Marie united with her husband. Eventually, the marriage between Francis and Marie would produce one daughter, Maria Christina Pia Anna Isabella Natalia Elisa, but the child would die after only 3 months. In 1878, she helped prepare a visit her sister, the Empress Sisi, was making to England. Upon the arrival of Elizabeth, the two sisters got into an argument about John Spencer, the 5th Earl Spencer. Both women were more than interested in the Earl. Their argument would never be settled. Marie's husband, Francis, died in 1894. Marie moved to Munich after World War I, where she died on January 19, 1925. She was buried alongside her husband and daughter in Rome. In 1984, the mortal remains of the 3 royals were transferred to the burial place of the Sicilian Bourbons, the Basilica of Santa Chiara in Naples. Sisi's third sister, Matilda in Bavaria. Matilda Ludovica in Bavaria was born on September 30, 1843. She spent much of her childhood in Possenhofen and in Munich. Of all her siblings, she was closest to her older sister Marie. Because of her delicate constitution, she was given the nickname Sparrow by her mother Ludovica, a nickname which remained with her throughout her life. On June 5, 1861, Matilda married Count Louis of Trani, who was the younger brother of Francis II of the Two Sicilies. As a result, Matilda spent most of the first years of her marriage with her sister Marie in Rome. The union between Marie and Louis produced one child, a daughter called Maria Teresa. Matilda's marriage turned out to be very unpleasant. Her husband cheated on her and was probably addicted to alcohol, so she later preferred to separate from him completely. She spent a lot of time traveling, accompanied by her sisters Marie and the Empress Sisi. In 1886, Matilda's husband died. Some sources claim he committed suicide, while officially his cause of death is registered as heart disease. During the First World War, Matilda lived in Switzerland. When her sister Marie moved to Munich, Matilda went and lived with her. She survived her sister by half a year and died on June 18, 1825. She was buried at the Munich Waldfriedhof. Matilda was the last surviving of all the siblings. Sisi's fourth sister, Sophie in Bavaria. Sophie Charlotte Auguste in Bavaria was born on February 22, 1847. Sophie spent most of her childhood at Possenhofen. As Sophie was the sister-in-law of the Austrian Emperor Franz Joseph I, many European princes were interested in marrying her. Both Louis I of Portugal and Ludwig Victor of Austria, who was a younger brother of the Austrian emperor, proposed. But supported by her free-spirited father, Sophie declined both proposals. On January 22, 1867, she was engaged to Ludwig II of Bavaria, but after Ludwig repeatedly postponed the wedding date, he broke off the engagement. A new suitor was found in Duke Ferdinand of Alençon-Orléans. Sophie agreed to the marriage proposal, and on September 28, 1868, the couple tied the knot. After their marriage, the newlyweds moved to England, as the descendants of the House of Orléans had been forbidden to set foot on French soil since the Revolution of 1848. From 1872 onwards, Sophie and Ferdinand were able to return to France, where they moved into a villa in Vincennes. Meanwhile, their marriage produced 2 children, a daughter Louise Victoria and a son, Philippe Emmanuel. In 1886, Sophie fell in love with her gynecologist. The two began an affair and even decided to leave for Switzerland together, but their plans were foiled by the partner of the doctor. Sophie's husband thereupon had Sophie admitted to a psychiatric clinic. She spent 5 months in the clinic, spent some time in Tyrol, and then rejoined her husband. Sophie eventually died on May 4, 1897, in a fire at a charitable exhibition in Paris, when she refused to leave the building against the urgent advice of the fire department because she insisted that other women be rescued first. In order to identify her body, her dentist had to be brought in. He eventually identified her based on her gold fillings, making her one of the first people whose remains were identified by forensic dentistry. Sisi's fourth brother, Maximilian Emmanuel, in Bavaria. Maximilian Emmanuel, who was often called by his nickname Maperel, was born on December 7, 1849, as the youngest of Sisi's siblings. Maximilian had a great fondness for the military and thus became a soldier at the age of 16. He was musically talented and composed some music pieces, among which 2 small piano pieces and 6 songs for a medium voice with pianoforte accompaniment. In 1875, Maximilian married Amalia of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. The marriage was arranged with the help of Max's sister, the Empress Sisi. Maximilian and Amalia fell in love, but Amalia was already engaged to Leopold of Bavaria. In order to clear the way for her brother to marry his love interest, Sisi proposed a more advantageous match to Leopold, her own daughter Gisela. The union between Maximilian and Amalia produced 3 sons, Siegfried, Christoph, and Leopold. Max and Amalia were often seen socializing in artistic circles. On June 12, 1893, Maximilian suffered an intestinal hemorrhage. A short time later, Maximilian died. A post-mortem revealed that he had suffered from a gastric ulcer that had set on an artery and perforated it, causing Max to bleed to death. He was buried in the family vault at Tegernsee. His wife Amelia followed him to the grave less than a year later, on May 6, 1894. Thank you for watching.